Hey, Auburn podcast listeners, I want to talk to you for a second about Shady Rays sunglasses. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company, so they do things their way. 1-2 punch warranty. You will not find a stronger warranty in the business. Free replacements if shades are lost or broken for any reason for a small shipping and handling fee. They'll replace any pair for any reason. Try that with your high-priced shades and see what they tell you. Also, Shady Rays provides 11 meals to fight hunger through Feeding America with every order placed, and they've provided over 1.5 million meals to date. Their shades are polarized with 100% UV protection and are the official shades of NFL running back LaShawn Shady McCoy. You want a pair? You can buy one and get one free if you use the promo code Auburn, AUBURN, to buy one pair of Shady Rays sunglasses and get another free. Promo code AUBURN. This is the Auburn Podcast, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast, brought to you by Auburn Undercover as well as ESPN 1067. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, on Twitter at ZBlackerby. And I am joined, making his Auburn Podcast debut, Austin Murphy. Austin is the new guy at ESPN 1067. Austin, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Sure, absolutely. So I wanted to start things off with the Auburn Podcast is on YouTube. I've started that about 2 weeks ago and getting some good comments and questions. And I wanted to start out pointing out and acknowledging a comment by Lamar. And if you listen to the show yesterday, and really the past few, myself and people that I've had on the show have not been high on LSU. Mm-hmm. And Austin, I don't know your thoughts, and we'll get into it based on your response to these comments. But Lamar says, okay, so a couple things. One, so we are to believe Auburn is better than it was last season, especially on offense. I think so. I think when you bring back a quarterback, and all of his pass catchers, with the exception of Carry-On, I think so. Now, obviously, losing running backs and some key offensive linemen were an issue, but I also don't think the offensive line was a strength last year either.
It wasn't, and it wasn't really a strength, the first week, but I think they're getting way better, and especially with I think Anthony Schwartz could be a huge part of this offense this season. Yeah,
I'm curious to see how much of a role he takes. Didn't see him a lot against Washington. I don't think he played at all, actually. But based on his performance against Alabama State, I mean, he played with the starters, so right. That'll be fun to see. All right, number 2 of Lamar's points. Both Auburn and LSU would not have signed any of Washington's defensive linemen had they committed. You wouldn't want to see Auburn recruiting any of those guys, but you'd love to see Auburn recruiting any one of LSU's defensive linemen. Think about it. Austin, I don't know if you listened to yesterday's show, but Will Shuddy and I talked about whose defensive line would you rather have, Washington's or LSU's. I forget what he said. I said I'd rather have Washington's.
Oh, absolutely. I'd rather have Washington's.
Yeah, and I know you can look at star rankings and recruiting, but as far as impact on a game for the past few seasons, and it's so early this year, it's going to be hard to tell based on just a few games, but Washington's defense for the past few seasons has been spot on. I mean, you look at both of them, they're both putting guys into the NFL, but just as far as track record goes, I'm more intimidated by Washington's defensive front than LSU's.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that we could put up 21 points against Washington, pretty confident against LSU. That looked much weaker than Washington does.
Number 3, do you expect Auburn to be able to run on LSU with those backs and that O-line, or do you hope Auburn can run on LSU's front 7 in this game? I think we are choosing to ignore what LSU is player for player. Now, that may be true. I think the raw talent on LSU's roster from top to bottom is pretty strong. I mean, it's going to be up there, with the top tier programs in college football. But do I think Auburn will be able to run the football? I don't think that they will get above what their average will be for the season. I think this will be a below average performance rushing this year. I've seen some people on Auburn Twitter and message boards saying, like, all right, I've got a feeling this could be the week that where Boobie Whitlow pops. I'm not buying that. I think Auburn offensively is going to be on the right arm of Jarrett Stidham this weekend.
I do too. I think it'll be more of a committee approach this week as well. I don't think you're going to see one player really pop out, as you said. I think Boobie Whitlow will probably Maybe get 100 yards. I'm not sure, but I think it'll be more committee approach. I'd like to see Shivers play this week, honestly.
Let's see. Eric commented, and you should be like Eric. Eric subscribed to the Auburn podcast. Go to auburnpodcast.com, click on Become a Patron to get extra Auburn podcasts, including pregame shows as well as postgame podcasts. auburnpodcast.com, then click on Become a Patron. He says, LSU is like Georgia no matter what year, always a sleeping giant. And I bet if Gus Malzahn called their offense during the Les Miles years, hypothetically, they would have won more, if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, I think offensive scheme for LSU, I mean, even the time post Les Miles, which, not a huge sample size, but no one is questioning LSU's talent from top to bottom. I mean, they are loaded from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, you look at their receivers and then what they do at LSU compared to what they do in the NFL. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Dwayne Bowe, all the way back to Dwayne Bowe several years ago. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that's crazy to say at all. I don't think so either. Yeah, I just, I don't know. I know a lot of people are low on LSU, and I've kind of been that way all off season, and it has nothing to do with their talent.
Yeah, I'm kind of low on LSU as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I get it. I get the argument for LSU strictly from a talent standpoint, but I'm not high on Ed Orgeron. I do think they will play well to start the year, but I'm curious to see how this team does after a few losses.
Yeah,
I have a hard time buying the fact that they are going to be consistently a top tier team throughout the season.
Yeah, especially with I'm not sold on Joe Burrow at all, and I wouldn't be if I was an LSU fan either. He has not looked great in these first 2 weeks.
All right. Malzahn talked to the media yesterday. The biggest bit of news coming out, Aiden Marshall, the punter, has left the team. So Aaron Sipos, who got the start last Saturday against Alabama State, I think it's safe to assume he will be the starter moving forward. I think it was safe to assume that going into Saturday. But now Ian Shannon will be the designated backup punter, for what that's worth.
Mm-hmm. And you bring a guy in from all the way across the ocean, you'd expect you're going to play him. I was surprised that he didn't get the start the first week. Maybe they were just looking to get a veteran approach. But I think from all the hype around Sipos, I think he's the guy. I think he's going to be great.
It's cool listening to him talk.
It is.
It's cool listening to him talk. I mean, I bet a lot of the people in his classes, I bet they get really excited. And
it's something about Australian. You're just like, you seem like you're a cooler person with an Australian
I don't know
accent.
what it is, man. I don't know what it is, but you're right. That in England.
Yeah.
Love a good English accent. If Auburn were to recruit someone from England, what position do you think they'd play?
I guess I have to go kicker. It's soccer over there. I don't think they're really big enough to play anything else.
Right. Yeah, they don't eat enough over there. All right. Malzahn also said that Jack Driscoll, the right tackle, right guard Mike Horton, linebacker Darrell Williams, and wide receiver Darius Slayton they all practiced yesterday after leaving the Alabama State game, or Slayton didn't play at all with injury concerns. So none of them really seem to be serious. They all seem to kind of be precautionary. I guess that's good to hear. I mean, I don't think it really disproves anything what people thought or assumed.
How about Will Hastings getting in the Alabama State game?
I asked this question yesterday. I want to get your thoughts on it. You're up 28-0 against Alabama State. Is that worth it? Just to throw it deep to a guy recovering from an ACL injury? Like, what's the upside there?
They were talking about this on the lunch break. Maybe it's just to get into LSU's head. Hey, maybe we might bring Will Hastings in. You got to prepare for that.
Yeah, I guess. That's the best argument I've heard for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, is that Will Hastings running down the field right now? I thought he tore his ACL like yesterday.
Yeah,
so
I didn't notice it until after the ball hit the ground. I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't notice it pre-snap. But then obviously Eli Stove lined up towards the end of the half. It's just, I don't really see the upside of it. Yeah, and if you want to reward the guys for working hard, I understand that. But I don't know if that's really how you do it. Let's see, Malzahn talking about last year's LSU game. There were a lot of lessons that were learned in all phases with the way we lost. Most teams would have folded up their tent, but our team didn't. And as mad as the Auburn fan base was after that game, especially at his comments after the game where he kept saying over and over again, it's not the end of the world, he was kind of right. Because it's because of that game, the way they responded from that game put them in a situation to get into the college football playoff.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I feel like Gus gets a bad rap sometimes. I think he does a great job, though. And he likes to do the whole say a bunch of nothing, doesn't really give anything away, which I kind of like that approach.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's an entitlement there, and I don't really think that is a legitimate feeling. You know, people don't deserve to know just because you're a fan.
Exactly.
You know? Malzahn talking about Malik Willis. He said, quote, he can do better, but he's also made some plays. We have high expectations for him, so nothing really has changed there. I'm talking about the safety. He said, quote, I think he got greedy there. He's usually really good with those zone reads. I don't think he'll do that again. You definitely would hope not.
Yeah, you mean he hasn't really gotten in the game when it's like a normal situation. We've always been up a million, and like it's not the same playbook really that you're used to running.
Right.
We haven't really gotten to see Malik, actually play a real game. I don't know. I kind of, from what we saw of Cord Sandberg, I thought he looked pretty good, pretty shifty.
I mean, based on what we saw on Saturday, I thought he looked better than Malik.
I did too.
I don't know, who's more likely to play post Jarrett Stidham. I mean, I think Bo Nix plays over all of them. You're starting to see more and more comments out there that Sandberg will be the guy after Stidham, which, I mean, it's always going to be, the new thing is always the shiniest thing in the room,
exactly.
right? But I don't know. Malik has played what? Shuddy and I talked about this yesterday. We could think of 2 relevant snaps that Malik Willis has played. When he took the direct snap in the Iron Bowl last year and the 2-point conversion against Washington. And both of those turned out bad.
Right.
Now, you can look at his long runs that he, did in garbage time last year and some of the passes and all that last year. But when you look at relevant snaps for a quarterback, I mean, I think that's obviously going to be more important. And the sample size is so small. It's 2 plays.
Exactly.
And if there's another one that I'm missing, Austin, you can call me out on it or, reach out to me on Twitter at @ZBlackerby. But I just don't think that's a crazy thing to say when you look at it. Like, all right, well, the 2-point conversion against Washington was extremely important.
Yeah, it was. And, I think he kind of gave up on that play because the receiver's wide open.
Right.
I think he decided I'm going to try and run this, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, and the stereotype for mobile quarterbacks is either, they don't typically have the ability to progress through all their options or, they lack in accuracy. Well, we saw accuracy issues in A-Day earlier this year.
That was a gross A-Day game this year.
It was.
That was gross.
A-Days always stink.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. I understand why you have to have it, and it's good to have in the spring, just a little bit of football, but it's almost just a tease.
It is. And we just looked bad,
Right.
Because Stidham wasn't even playing, and Malik didn't look great. But I get you got to do it.
No, you do. But yeah, the Cord Sandberg hype is growing.
It is growing.
It is growing. And I think some of that has to do with Malik Willis not looking like he did late in some games last year. But
it was annoying that he was number 24, though. That did bother me.
Sure, that is totally fair. That is totally fair. I'm not a fan of quarterbacks wearing numbers in the 20s. Yeah, they need to either be a single digit or in the teens.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So moving forward, talking about what Auburn needs to do against LSU this weekend. We mentioned Darius Slayton a little bit earlier in the show, but I think it is crucial for him to come back and be healthy. I think he's fine. I think if LSU would have been last week, I think he would have played based on what we've heard, just kind of a precautionary thing. But I think Darius Slayton's success this Saturday will hinge how successful Auburn's offense is. I think a lot of the offense is going to have to go through him by way of Jarrett Stidham and the deep ball.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a Darius Slayton bomb touchdown this weekend. I can see it coming.
Do you think it's over Greedy Williams?
Ooh, that's tough. The best defensive back name in sports.
It's a great name. Oh, it's such a good name.
It's such a good name. That if I'm a GM, he's moving up my draft board strictly because of that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it doesn't get more brandable than that.
Yeah. I'd love to see some Anthony Schwartz jet sweeps.
Yeah.
He is fast. He is a fast man.
Yeah, and I wonder if part of Auburn's thinking against Alabama State is that jet sweep, you don't even have to try to set it up anymore. Like LSU has to, understand where he is whenever he lines up.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I love we throw screen passes to Ryan Davis every game, and people just still can't seem to stop it. Mm-hmm. So I think Ryan Davis might have a big game this weekend as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll have to be a volume thing. I really can't see anyone having, the catch it short, run it long kind of game. I have a hard time picturing that, and that's a lot of Ryan Davis's chunk yardage is through, catch it either behind the line of scrimmage or 2 yards downfield and then, turn it and make a play. I don't think he's doing that against this defense.
You don't think he can do it? I just every year I guess the past 2 years, we throw the screen pass and it just seems to work with him every time. I don't know. Maybe I got too much faith.
Well, I mean, I just think LSU's defense is more athletic than that. I mean, it's nothing against Ryan Davis.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I do think that the defensive line will give us some troubles, but I don't like the hype. I don't like it. I don't think the hype behind LSU is really warranted this season.
Do you think it's warranted on the defensive side of the football?
They didn't look that great last week against who'd they play? Some Southeast Louisiana. I mean, it was 31-0, but I think they looked kind of shaky at points. And I don't know. Again, Joe Burrow is just not. I don't think he's the guy that's going to lead you to an SEC championship.
I agree with you offensively, but I think that I could see this being a really sloppy game Saturday.
Yeah,
I could see this being two really good defenses taking advantage of opposing offenses.
Yeah, I might have to hammer the under on this game.
What is it? Do you know?
I do not know.
I know the line is 10.5. See if you can find the over-under.
We'll look it up right here.
Do you think the 10.5 is fair?
I do. So playing in Jordan-Hare is tough for opposing teams. Like, it gets loud in there, and I think 10.5 is very fair.
When I first saw it, I thought it was high, but the more I think about it, the more I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Again, I just think Miami is just really, really bad, and LSU was just less bad than they were because I don't know. Joe Burrow had 140 yards against them, and they still.
Sounds right.
It was really their defense that won them that game.
I agree with that, and I think it's going to be Auburn's defense that wins them the game.
Yeah,
this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Our defensive line, I'd be surprised if they got any sort of running game going against us.
Right. I am curious to see how the running game goes, though. We mentioned earlier, will this be the week where Boobie Whitlow pops? I mean, it very well could be similar to the Ryan Davis thing. I just have a hard time picturing any running back getting consistent chunk yardage against the defense.
Yeah, you're right. I think we're going to have a very balanced game. Maybe we'll probably lean more on Stidham throwing the ball. We might not see it, but I really do think Anthony Schwartz should play a part this week somehow, some way.
Yeah, well, you're not alone in that. I mean, a lot of Auburn fans very excited about what the Anthony Schwartz did last week against Alabama State. He's an exciting player to watch. I'm curious to see how Auburn uses him to open up other things and how much opposing defenses will kind of respond whenever he's on the field.
Right.
Because you have to play off of him.
You do.
You can't press the guy.
By the way, the over-under is 45 for that game.
Yeah, I would definitely take the under on that.
Yeah, I could see it being another 21-16 game. Something like that from Washington. Two good defenses trying to scrap it out on offense.
Do you think Auburn covers? So you don't think Auburn covers the 10.5?
I don't think so. I really don't, because it's
10.5 is a lot in this one.
It is.
The 10 points is going to be a lot of points in this one.
Yeah.
Cool. Where are you on Twitter, bud?
I'm at Austin D. Murphy.
Be sure to follow Austin. Thanks for listening to today's edition of the Auburn Podcast. Be sure to become a subscriber of the exclusive Auburn Podcast at auburnpodcast.com. Then click on Become a Patron. See you tomorrow. This has been another edition of the Auburn Podcast.
If you like the podcast, you should head over to auburnpodcast.com. Zach and the gang are serving up extra Auburn sports goodness for Auburn podcast subscribers for as low as $1 a month. Check out auburnpodcast.com.